and gentlemen, welcome in session 3 dedicated to trust and security. Now we will see a video record of the keynote speaker, Mr. Justin Novak.
Hello, and welcome to this session of the 5th Western Balkan 6 Digital Summit 2022 in Pristina, Kosovo. I want to start by thanking the organizers and the hosts of this event for inviting me to be a part of this very important and very interesting discussion. In particular, I want to thank the organizers of the Western Balkan 6 Summit, the Ministry of Economy of Kosovo for inviting me, and I also want to take time to particularly thank my colleagues at RCEP and at COCERT, who I've been working with closely over the last few years to improve cybersecurity and digital security in Kosovo, and have asked me to be a part of this event. My name is Justin Novak. I'm a senior security operations researcher at the CERT division of the Software Engineering Institute at Carnegie Mellon University. For those of you who aren't familiar with the SEI or with the CERT division, we're one of the world's leading and one of the world's oldest cybersecurity and incident response organizations. The CERT division of the SEI was originally created more than 30 years ago in response to the Morris worm, which was one of the first computer security incidents on the then very nascent internet. Since then, over the last several decades, our organization has developed a number of expertise and a number of industry-leading best practices in the areas of cybersecurity, incident response, and digital security. My team at the CERT division specializes in sharing that expertise and in sharing those skills and those best practices with the rest of the community, both in the United States and around the world. My team travels to areas including the Western Balkans, where I've been several times to help share this expertise, which is why I'm particularly glad to be with you today. I wish I could be there in person. I was last in Pristina in 2018 and last in the Balkans region in 2019 when I attended the Western Balkan 6 Digital Summit that year. But unfortunately, travel schedules and ongoing issues related to the pandemic have prevented me from being there in person today. But as I said, I continue to be very excited about participating in this event and participating in this very important discussion. In particular, today's session, which will talk about regional approaches to building a resilient cyber ecosystem. And in order to talk about that, I'm going to use the example of a rubber band. But first, before we get to that, we need to talk about regional cooperation and why it's so important. Regional cooperation is particularly important for digital economies because of how tightly they're integrated. When we think of a region of the world, we think of a group of countries or a group of actors that are physically close to one another, but may have borders and things between them. In the digital economy, however, there are no borders. This means that information can move more easily than goods and services can. This means that a digital economy is the economy of the future, and any country interested in growth and expanding their economy and improving the quality of lives of their citizens must have a strong digital economy. Now, this strong digital economy must be resilient. And this is where we get to talking about resiliency. In order to protect those benefits of the digital economy and to ensure a safe and prosperous future for your country and for your citizens, you have to be able to sustain the benefits of that digital economy. This requires resilience, particularly in the face of cyber criminal activity, cyber attacks, and other types of threats to digital economy and digital success. So we want to be resilient. Well, but what does it mean to be resilient? A long time ago, someone told me that being resilient is like being a rubber band. A rubber band has a shape that you expect it to be in, and it performs a certain function that you expect of it. However, sometimes a rubber band can be subjected to stress. And when it's subjected to stress, it stretches out of shape. And it bends, and it goes in different directions that you maybe don't expect it to. Through all of this, though, it holds its basic shape and continues to form its most core and most essential functions. Also, very importantly, once that stress is gone, the rubber band returns to its original shape and continues to serve its original purpose as it was before those stresses and those challenges were introduced. A digital economy or an incident response organization serving a digital economy has to show the same type of resiliency. When your digital economy is subject to a cyber attack or cyber criminal activity, you have to continue providing services to your citizens and services to your constituency. Similarly, a cybersecurity organization or an incident response organization must continue operating and continue providing critical services in the event of a cyber attack or other incident that introduces stress and other challenges to the environment. That's what we mean when we talk about resiliency. But sometimes, no matter how resilient your organization is, you can be under so much stress that eventually it becomes too much and you break. This is where regional approaches come in. Because what happens is that the stress can become too much for one organization or one country to bear alone. This is where we lean on our neighbors, our regional partners, our friends and our allies in other organizations and in other countries. When that stress becomes so much, we can ask them for help, ask them to share information, ask them to provide resources and to provide knowledge and experience that can help us continue to be resilient even in the face of significant stress and significant challenges. Think of this as making our rubber band bigger and stronger and thicker, or maybe providing barriers so that when the rubber band stretches, it can only stretch so far because it comes up against a firm barrier on one side or the other. Those are our friends. Those are our neighbors. They help us be more resilient, and they help us continue to provide services and to function as a capable organization and a successful economy, even in the event of challenges like cyber attacks, like cyber incidents. So when we think about resiliency and we think about regional approaches, we have to think about how can we help each other? What can we do for our neighbors? Do we want to share information? Do we want to establish cooperative learning programs? Do we want to develop cooperative approaches to cybersecurity? There are a lot of different things that incident responders, cybersecurity organizations, and people involved in the digital economy can do. I think that the rest of the discussion in this session will touch on a lot of those important subjects. I hope it's a good and interesting discussion, and I hope you all enjoy it along with the rest of the Western Balkan 6 Digital Summit. Again, thank you for asking me to be a part of this very important event, and I wish all of you a very great day, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the summit. Thank you. Hello.
Now I invite the moderator, Mr. Ramsés Gallego, and the panelists, Dušan Polović, Ludmyla Rabchynska, and Lulezon Jagxhiu.
Welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to what is going to be a not to miss session. We're going to be talking about resiliency, as we have just heard from Justin Novak. Actually, the dictionary says that resiliency is the capacity to endure, the capacity to resist, the capacity to withstand. And I think that our esteemed speakers today will embrace, adapt and adopt and share with us the approach to build from a regional perspective, a robust and solid, resilient cyber ecosystem. Thank you very much for being with us, guys. When I was preparing this session, I have thought about some questions that I would like to challenge you, if I may, with some questions, all of you. Let's start with you. So, because cyber resiliency, as I said, is the capacity to endure, the capacity to resist. what keeps you up at night? So what's important in your country, your region? I mean, what's important to, what keeps you up at night? What is important to build that approach, robust and solid approach? What do you think?
Well, thank you.
Pleasure.
It was interesting. It was interesting notes from our keynotes before we start to speak, and he mentioned one thing which is really important, and that is the reason maybe why we are here, all of us. It's a regional cooperation approach. I think it's really important for, let's say, these Balkan countries, because we have some similar disadvantages, I could say, and in my country, an example, we are under the robust cyber attack last 30 days. We have a lot of problem to deal with these huge attacks, and as you know or know, something has happened in the other states, neighbor states, like Kosovo, like Bosnia and Herzegovina, also like Albania. That was happened maybe just few months before the attacks on Montenegro, and I must say that we don't have enough information.
Interesting.
And that is the reason why I mentioned the regional approach. If you have such an attack in Montenegro, then it's normally that all other neighbor states have some info about the kind of attacks, of duration, of techniques which is developed, and to share with our neighbors. But that is not happening on a decent way. So I think that we really need to have some regional projects and better regional cooperation. That is just my remark.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dušan. By the way, you were talking on, as per your role as Director General of E-Governance and Information Security of Ministry of Public Administration in Montenegro. But what I've heard is sharing information. If you want to build something from a regional perspective, you need to share with the good guys. We need to share information. So I'm going to challenge Lulezon, as you are advisor to the Prime Minister here in Kosovo. What do you think? I mean, are we sharing enough? I mean, is that a challenge as well from a regional perspective? What are the challenges and what keeps you up at night in order to build and to gain that resilient posture?
Hello from my side as well. Thank you, Ramsés, for having me. I would just start with a quick going back to this concept of resilience, I would say. This paradigm shift from the cybersecurity to cyber resilience is not that new anymore. It came a couple of years ago, and obviously it was a necessary shift which had to happen, because we know the traditional approach was to try and, protect, try to prevent things from happening. But the reality is that no matter how much we try, how much we invest, at the end of the day, we are going to be attacked. And that's why resilience comes in, because we need to be able, after that attack happens, to be able to really detect, to continue our business operations and to recover from the attack. So the paradigm is clear, and the path, I would say, in conceptual aspect is clear, but in practice is not that straightforward, of course. There is a lot of complexity inside in order to be able to really achieve that resilience that we are looking for. And looking from the government perspective, we're looking at critical infrastructures. Some of them rely on information. Actually, most of them rely on, or all of them rely on information technology. Many of them rely also on operational technology. So all of these complexities have to be managed within this resilience concept, and then we cannot do everything at the same time. So the resilience is all about also prioritization and defining what is actually, where is the biggest impact on our reputation, financial aspect, operation, and trying to identify those crown jewels that we really have to first protect. But even that prioritization is not that easy, because we know this last year colonial pipeline attack, and everybody initially, when you hear about that attack and what kind of wreak havoc it caused into the supply chain of fuel in the US, you would think, most probably it's the operational technology which was attacked which really stopped this. But actually it was the billing system which was attacked. So that makes things more difficult, because sometimes things which do not really look really the most important things can really still cause a lot of problems. So yes, I would say protecting and ensuring resilience of our systems is something for us to really think till late at night, or hopefully to sleep as well, because we need to be clear and ready for the next day. But talking about what really keeps us awake, I mean, I'm coming from the policy part, so I deal, I would say, at the government level more with the policy. And for me, the initial concern is that we really have a strategy, we have a plan, and we have all the policies and procedures in place in order to target, I would say, cybersecurity and ensure cyber resilience. So that's why a lot of our focus has been, as we came to the government, on building this, I would say, strategy and policy, and trying to look at it comprehensively. So again, cybersecurity is very little has to do with technology, and a lot to do with people and processes. So we need to build those processes. We need to identify and build the mechanisms for protecting our critical infrastructure. We need to talk about how we are going to do that in cooperation with the private sector. We need to define that. And we need to define the international cooperation, which Dušan was mentioning, because there are no borders for attackers. They are going from one country to another. We, in the course of past 2 months, 3 or 4 countries in the region were attacked. So we need to really work together in the region and beyond, but this has to be in the planned manner. We have to plan it ahead. I mean, we can start cooperating when the attack happens, but it's too late already. We need to prepare those cooperations and work on, I would say, strategic approach on regional and European security and beyond ahead of time. We have to talk about and plan awareness raising, education, and so many aspects. So that's one part of it, and then there is the second part. Even if you have all of those things in paper and well planned and prepared, you need the practice, whether you are able to really implement it. And that's, again, a challenge in itself, finding the right people, creating the right mechanisms to implement those strategies. It all, I would say, has a number of challenges. But there are sometimes things which are even simple and are not implemented. For example, there are some basic security controls, like, I don't know, making regular backups, patching, and etc., or password management policies, which are not being respected, and it's not something expensive to really implement them. But it's just an illustration that sometimes things which are well defined on paper are not happening. So that's, I would say, this implementation part which keeps us awake, and we really always need to think whether we are doing enough. So that's something we have to always think, to work continuously, but also to think all the time whether we are doing enough to really address all the aspects. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Now, thank you very much. It was a long answer, but you know what? I was taking notes, and Lulezon was mentioning very important verbs. And my notes indicate that they actually match the definition of resiliency. Let me go back to cybersecurity. You know, the cybersecurity NIST framework is about identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. You know, the typical verbs of identifying threats, recovering from threats, detecting and protecting. However, you mention preparation, anticipating threats, withstanding, responding. You know, I mean, in a long answer, you know, the notes I was taking are, I mean, he's defining robustness and solidness in exchanging, of course, information. You were also mentioning, Lulezon, about innovation and the young jewels or the jewels of the crown. And then, Ludmyla, let me challenge you, because you are former deputy minister, the Minister of Digital Transformation of the Ukraine, correct? So when Lulezon was talking, I was thinking about digital transformation. And then, if I may, as you and I talked yesterday on the Kosovo Museum on a session we had in the evening about not only digital transformation, which you know a lot about that, of course, but also radical innovation, doing different things, including exchanging information, sharing information, you know, anticipating threats. So what are your thoughts on digital transformation, of course, the challenges of the regional approach, but also that little touch, modern and fresh, on radical innovation? What do you think, Ludmyla? Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm really honored to present Ukraine here in this session and in this summit. Thank you so much for hosting me. And yes, to answer in your question, we divided life in Ukraine before full-scale intervention and after. So before full-scale intervention, we really work very hard on digital transformation, disruption, innovation, and so on and so on. Yes, so we launched a lot of very good modern electronic services. We launched application DIA, as it has more than 10 electronic documents. And yes, we launched first in the world passport, electronic passport in this application. And back to your first question, what's wake up me, that if we're really prepared for the cyber attack. And of course, the question was, if we prepared for responding and recovering. But now, after full-scale intervention, and actually even more earlier, if we look at to different barometers, first big attack that we received, it was before full-scale intervention. It was in the middle of the January. It's January 13, when we had to stop all our critical infrastructure in terms of registries, critical registries, because yes, of the full-scale attack on our registries. So what wake up me and how we could respond, how we could live in constant day-by-day attacks, how we could protect our registry's personal data and to keep him operational after this attack. So how we could respond, etc., etc. So it's very good to have disruptive innovation because it is our future. But they have to go hand by hand with cybersecurity and cyber resilience. We cannot, keep cybersecurity, cyber resilience for later, because it is a fundamental thing. We cannot develop, we cannot create a new technology, do not, save your back, your bottom, let me say like this, because without that, we will bring us to new threats, That's why it's really important. All of us like startups, because they bring us innovation, and a lot of countries develop it, founded it in a regional level. But when we talk about cybersecurity and cyber threats, I think it will be very good to raise your head up the region, because if your country is not so lucky as we to have in your region Russian Federation, not way to talk about regional cooperation. That's why we talk about whole of the world cooperation, and the biggest friends of Ukraine alliance, European Union and United States, that really help us before the full scale and during the full scale. That's why I think it is a future to work together on that a whole democratic society, democratic world work together to protect each country and whole society from this threat. So I think the future of the whole world cooperation. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you very much. Now I'm going to challenge these two countries. Let me start with Lulezon, and then I will go with you, Dušan, because in your good long answer, Lulezon, you were talking about infrastructure. And again, I was taking notes, and then the idea of trust came to my head. Trust. Trust, ladies and gentlemen, is subjective in nature. One is not trustable because she or he says so. One is trustable because others decide that they can trust him or her. So trustable is subjective in nature. So when I'm thinking about infrastructure that you mentioned, how much trust, how trustable are your infrastructure, your systems in order to build that resilient cyber approach? How much trust can we put? How much trust the infrastructure and the systems and e-governance and administration, how much they deserve from our side? Can you please elaborate, and then I will go with you, Dušan. Go ahead. Yep, thank you.
The issue of trust, of course, is a big topic in the cybersecurity, but not only in cybersecurity. Overall, digital transformation is very much linked to the trust aspect. And when we talk about cybersecurity, it has to do with how sophisticated our infrastructure has become. I mean, it's not only the normal computers we would have within our offices, which the government or the employer puts them there to do our business, but we have so many other. Last night you were mentioning smart devices all over the place, which come also to our workplaces. And then we have, the policies in the past were pretty much, you keep your own device at home and you come and work at the office computer, but those things are changing. So employees, organizations are encouraging employees to bring their own devices. Yes. There is a lot of work from home. So everything is much more sophisticated than it used to be. And that's why I guess the technology aspect of trust has become very strict. Today we talk about zero trust architecture. So you don't trust any device. So whenever you connect a device, it has to be identified to see whether it's trustworthy. If it's trustworthy, it can be granted access in the network. If not, it cannot join the network. And then there are other things technologically that we need to make sure on a daily basis, that we multi-factor authentication and having the minimum privilege which is needed, etc., etc. And this is the necessity of today in terms of technology to aim almost zero trust, because zero is too absolute, I would say. Yeah. But on the other hand, we have the people trust. And the question is whether we can apply it to people as well, because as we were discussing last night, a vast majority of issues in cybersecurity incidents happen due to human error. So does it mean that we have to restrict and stop people, and do maximum things to kind of restrict the way they operate? Well, again, there have been studies and there have been surveys about this. I was reading one done in the UK where IT leaders were asked whether, too much restriction on employees really increases cybersecurity. And interestingly enough, 89.5% of IT leaders were saying that actually happiness of employees in their workplace is much more important for increasing cybersecurity rather than doing the opposite. So in that regards, I think when we talk about people, we have to find a balance. Of course, we don't need to open access for everybody to everything without a need, because that doesn't make sense. But also looking at some kind of absolute, security and restriction, and not relying at all in trust is not a solution. And then we have other aspects. So this ecosystem of trust goes beyond the organization. We have trust with the vendors and trust with the partners who implement stuff for us or maintain systems. So again, just to try to summarize, trust is very important. We have to find a balanced approach. So technology-wise, it's obvious what, in the new environment, we need to raise this bar and be as strict as possible. But when we come to people relations, we need to be more balanced. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. What can you tell me, Dušan, about Montenegro, and again your thoughts on that? Go ahead.
I could say that trust is gained and very difficult, and it's much easier to lose it, for sure. I agree with the colleague because of different types of trust we need to have it. One of them is trust to vendor for producing the equipment, tools. Also, it's from my point of view, it's very, very crucial to be in touch with all, let's say, on the technical level, all new version, new patches of all systems, to trust the administration guys also. So there is a different level of trust which we need to have. So it's a really difficult, because in our country we have, let's say, like my colleague said, we were trying to have some medium level of restriction, but it wasn't such a great idea. So we learn these lessons, and I must say that we really need to be a little bit more restrictive.
Okay, more restrictive.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let me challenge you again on digital transformation and combining what our colleagues has just said. Because you're an expert on digital transformation, I was thinking building trust, and then the idea of privacy, and what I called the nexus of forces, which is everything that is happening on digital transformation, which is cloud, social, big data, analytics, IoT, the Internet of Everything. So, and then digital transformation as an overarching umbrella. Thinking on trust, and again, from a regional approach, and building resiliency and robustness. What can you tell me about the nexus of forces? Which role does cloud and big data and analytics and everything play in that, Ludmyla? Please, can you elaborate? Thank you very much.
Yeah, very good question. Thank you so much. Indeed, all of these things, that is our future, and inevitable future. And it brings us a lot of good approaches. We could, develop, and we could grow with all of these things. But at the same time, it's a bigger challenge for me, and actually I 100% agree with colleague, but what I want to bring to this discussion, how to educate people to follow the simple rules: never trust, always verify. And that is the biggest thing, because authentication, electronic identification go all the time opposite to the UX UI that everybody likes. Everyone wants to be that your application, your services will be simple, just in one click, without any additional steps. And if we talk about identification, it's not possible to make it as simpler. You need to verify, you need to authenticate, you need to understand who is your user, if this user has enough credential to receive this data, to operate with this system, and so on and so on. So in my perception, I understand that we need to find the balance. Because balance is very important. We need to protect personal data, we need to protect our system, and of course we need to give opportunity to growth and develop, as we talked about previously, about innovation and so on and so on. So it is the common work and we need to find this, mitigate all the risk and find our way, our approach, how we could bring all the things together, and to, as again, teach the people to be smart, to verify, and of course to use and enjoy all electronic mechanisms, all electronic tools. That is the biggest thing, because as my colleague said, and I totally agree, that is biggest issues, it is the human error. And how to handle these errors, that is the thing. So let's work together on digital education and promote the idea that it's very important. Never trust, always verify, and go to all this complicated thing with electronic identification and authentication. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Ludmyla said no less than 3 times verify. Trust, but verify. And I absolutely agree. I mean, it was great. And again, I was taking my notes on trust, but verify. Even if you don't trust, I mean, as Lulezon was elaborating, zero trust is about trust, no device, trust, no network, trust, no one, trust, no application. But if you trust, always verify. It is important. I mean, we are short in time. I want to be super respectful with the agenda. I'm going to be opening for questions from the floor, so get your questions ready and take the opportunity of having 3 fantastic speakers very soon. But I have one more question. But again, get your questions ready, please, because I'm going to give the microphone to the floor in a minute. But I want to talk about, we said yesterday about the Internet of Things, the Internet of Everything, You said, Dušan, about sharing information. I'm not from the region. I consider myself a friend of the region and the country, But because I am not a friend I am a friend, but excuse me, because I am not from the region, that's what I meant. Apologies. To which degree is it realistic that you guys share information? Unfortunately, your countries have happened terrible attacks. Different countries of this region have been attacked. So to which degree you do have a lessons learned exercise? Lessons learned. Okay, it happened. We know how it happened. We've done our investigation. So how, and not specifically Montenegro, I mean the rest of the country, but do you really share? Do you have a program to, hey guys, this is happening here. They are attacking us from that perspective. Actually, the 3 of you here, but is it realistic, or is it just a romantic thought that we say in sessions and it actually is not happening? I mean, you don't pick up the phone, you don't, do you share information? Is there a program behind it? A lessons learned exercise? Can you elaborate, please? Go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, of course that we are sharing information. We have a cooperation between these Balkan countries, but I could say that it is not enough. I would like to have it on better level, on high level. So, as I on the start said, we could use these lessons from our colleagues, or them can use our lessons, and also when you in the start we are explaining that we could use some resources from the other countries, especially when some attacks is happening, because any country is maybe is not enough prepared for such a huge attacks. In our country we are, I will mention, we are the NATO country, so we have a help from the NATO states, US, France, and other states. That is okay, that is great. But also what we would like to have our neighbor states together with us, and I think it's the best way also to have some exercises, to have some cyber arena or something like that.
Good. So what I'm hearing is it exists, but there is room for improvement. So that's good. So I appreciate and I applaud that it exists, but there is room for improvement. What are your thoughts, Lulezon? So is it realistic? Is it happening?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's always when attacks happen more severe, because, talking about attacks happening as news, I don't think it's the right way of putting it, because being under attack, I think, is a new normal. So it's not something news to say we are being attacked. But of course, when we have these more severe attacks, they get more attention and also more, I would say, mobilization of the resources. And then, of course, there are lessons learned. No matter how much we try to prepare and plan, when you are under real attack, you really see some needs to do something, quickly, and then you find ways to do things which, in normal circumstances, you would think, well, is it possible? Is it difficult or not? But under the pressure of an incident, then things happen more smoothly. But yes, of course, there are communications between, let's say, our national CERT and the CERTs of friendly countries, neighboring countries. Also, this is at the, I would say, CERT level, but also at law enforcement level, because, of course, beyond these attacks are some criminals, and it's also very important that law enforcement organizations also exchange information, because that can also help, I would say, pinpoint the attackers. And I cannot go into details, but I can say that really a lot has been learned from the recent attacks, which will help us in the future planning as well.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Again, get your questions ready. We'll hear what Ludmyla wants to say, but get your questions ready. What are your thoughts on it? Do you share information? Is it realistic? And there's an expectation of more? Go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. As I mentioned before, we work very close with our partners from EU and United States, and obviously we share a lot of information with them. If we talk about our regional approach, that is also always to think lack of talents and lack of funds, financial. And that's what our region struggle very much. That's why we'll be happy to share all information with our neighbors, of course, except for Belarus and Russia Federation. But yes, they still not much mature, and they even do not ask us to share such information. What we really do, and that is very interesting thing. After the full scale of intervention, we start to attack back. And that is our approach. We create somehow called IT army, and states, Ukrainian states, start to share information with the IT society, with the business community all around the world to work together to attack back. Yes, and that is very interesting thing, very interesting, new approach how to share this information, very transparent, to help IT specialists to help us attack back. And once again, if you are looking for the different parameters, you will see that after full-scale intervention, actually Russian Federation struggle from this, approximately the same amount of attack as Ukraine. So we're quite good in attacking. We do not have enough capacity, as I mentioned, the talents to work on this by our own. But we are happy that whole democracy will support us and help us to attack back. Yes, so please join us in this journey. Thank you.
Okay, that's good. Actually, again, and I'm gonna give you the opportunity now to ask our speakers, but our panelists. But again, when they were talking, my notes or the word that came to my brain was holisticness. Are you familiar with the term holistic? Holistic means that the sum of the parts together are greater in value than each and every part considered individually. Montenegro, Kosovo, Ukraine, and the rest of the countries, in a holistic manner, where the sum of the parts, it's a mathematical paradox, by the way. 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 10 times, it's 10. But in a holistic fashion, the 10 provides more value than 1 and 1 and 1 and then until 10, right? So I think, this is the word that came to my mind when you were talking and exchanging information and certainly defending and protecting, as Ludmyla was saying. All right, again, we are super short in time if we want to keep and be respectful with the agenda, but I have to ask, who has the first question? Because I'm sure that you have a question for our panelists. Come on, take the opportunity, challenge them. Thank you. I haven't seen you, sir. But that's the first one. I'm expecting some other questions because, again, it's a massive opportunity. Go ahead, sir. If you can introduce yourself, that would be appreciated. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Kutim. I come from the private sector. I represent a cybersecurity company. I wanted to ask, I do agree that holistic view is always good, but is it realistic to share information in these sensitive topics with a neighboring country which is not aligned with the Western society? So I'm talking about our Western neighbor, or more particularly Serbia, because we had issues. Kosovo had attacks, Montenegro, Albania, Macedonia, but it looks like Serbia is handling themselves really well. So,
okay, that's good.
How much are you willing to share information?
Exactly. To which degree? That if I am understanding correctly, okay. To which degree? Which is the depth of your sharing? If I am understanding correctly. Thank you very much, sir. Who wants to take it? I mean, anyone? Dušan?
Yes.
As much as you can say. I mean, of course,
Yes,
I understand that this is always difficult because, I mean, they're open, but whatever you can say, yeah.
This question has some, let's say, political
Yep.
issue, but I will say that we do not make a change between change between different countries. So if we share information with one of our neighbor, why we do not share with the other neighbors like Serbia? So I think it's not a problem to share information with other countries. Even if you said that the all neighbor countries except Serbia was under attack, I think it's good to have cooperation with all countries, and I think it's only a reasonable approach.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. You want to say, Lulezon? Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with, because the question was made in the right direction. I mean, nowadays these cyber attacks are very much motivated in many cases from these geopolitical things which are going on in the world, what's going on in Ukraine. And there I think there is a clear line between the Western democracies and and Ukraine and what is on the other side. So in that regards, I would say information sharing with our Western neighbor becomes more challenging because of the alliance, which is, I would say, pretty directly expressed with Russia in this case. So yes, that's a big challenge that we have to accept.
Okay, that's good. Ludmyla, you want to?
Yes, sure. I want to support my colleagues because, yes, totally I agree that we could have to share information, but with our true alliance. So, yes, if you do not trust some country, definitely you need to protect yourself. So put your national interest in the first place. And after that, decide if you trust this particular country, organization, international organization, partner. So yes, you could. You need to actually verify your partner, even not electronic way, but just in person. You need to understand who is your partner and check, double check it several times. Stop to share information when you understand that you need to stop it. Put your national interest in the first place. Thank you.
Great, fantastic. Thank you very much, and thanks for the question. Now, who has the second question? Yeah, go ahead, sir. Thank you very much. If you can introduce yourself. Again, let me remind everyone, we are short in time because we want to be respectful with the agenda, so take the opportunity. But go ahead, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My name is Elvin. I would say I'm a cyber enthusiast. I got, in fact, two short questions.
Go ahead.
If possible. Sorry. Towards Western Balkans regional cooperation, should we consider just sharing information or as well as sharing resources like human capacities or technical capacities? And the second question, in regard to governance, what are the mechanisms or approaches in order to provide oversight regarding the matter? Or saying in other words, on reaching what Ludmyla said, trust but verify, who's going to guard the guardians?
Okay. Thank you very much. I understood the first one. I think, Dušan, that you mentioned that the importance of sharing resources, people, intelligence. I think that you covered that. But if you want to, in short way, if you want to
absolutely,
cover that,
absolutely, not just experience, but sharing resources of people and teams and joint cooperation, two different teams and whole resources that I was thinking.
Yep. And also you mentioned with the private sector, right? I mean, not only resources,
yes, of course.
Public administration, but you mentioned, go ahead, Lulezon, if you
Yeah, I mean, I want to emphasize this aspect of partnership and the people aspect. So I believe we all agree that if we need to mention the biggest challenge in implementing, I would say, cybersecurity resilience is actually people. And it's not only in our region, it's all over the world, but it's more, I would say, expressed in our region because we are small countries. Yeah. And the total number of resources within the country is limited. And plus, we all, I would say, all Western Balkans are facing the issue of brain drain. Highly skilled people, especially in the area of cybersecurity, are in high demand all over the world. So they can be easily attracted and emigrate and continue their careers abroad. So this is a big challenge we have to accept, and that in that regards, first of all, we have to work with the private sector, with whatever resources we have within the nation, to try to use that pool. But I agree that could and should go also beyond the country. So work with the friendly countries and to pool resources, maybe create niches of specialization in various areas and try to kind of complement each other.
You want to mention something, or I'll go?
No, I totally agree. The future is for the international talents. Talents that each country must bring the best talents that they have.
Absolutely. Talent retention from a country perspective, I think this is very important, Okay, so I want my esteemed panelists to prepare for either we have the next question and we are super short in time, but also I will give you 1 minute of glory, the golden minute, to say something to finish. So it's going to be, 30 seconds or 1 minute, so start thinking on your thought for ending this panel. But do we have any other? Yeah, Luanda, of course, go ahead. So we have a question from my dear friend, Luanda, which is a long-time friend. We'll go with that, and then we'll go with the answers and the golden minute. Go ahead. Thank you very much. Introduce yourself, if you will.
Luanda Domi, I work for a CIDR program, USAID-funded program. I sort of have two questions in one, and I think inspired by Ludmyla's presentation. So one thing that you said, it was about considering the circumstances that are happening in Ukraine, you have formed this IT community that attacks back. Maybe now we understand the circumstances and geopolitics there, but for the region and for this region, what would be your lessons learned that you would want to share in terms of maybe proposals for hack-back legislation, whether that would be useful and the circumstances that this region is also facing? And second would be, prior to the developments there, you had identified essential services and critical infrastructure and critical information infrastructure. What lessons maybe you can share that what is really essential in case situation worsens for the region as well?
Thank you so much. And I started with the quote that everybody already knows. Yes, if you want to peace, be prepared to the war. Yes, and that is the first lesson, and you need to keep it in mind every time. So when you are thinking about development, you need to think for the first time about cyber resilience, cyber security. So please talk with politicians, because they actually do not like these questions, this topic, because they want to promote, they want to bring you new inventions to their citizens, but they didn't want to think about cybersecurity because it is boring, it's not interesting to everyone, and etc., etc., and of course it is costly. and it, when you have limited budget, you need to prioritize, and in most time they put a budget not in the cybersecurity cup. And that is very pity that what we faced, even in the year when, in the years when Russia attacked our eastern border, but we still live in, life is nothing happens with our critical infrastructure, but we continue to struggle of the attack as well. So about IT army. Actually, it's hard to give an advice because we are now in a war, and legislations that cover war is under Ukraine. So we can use the thing because we protect ourselves, because we are in position of the war. But I think and I believe that in using our experience and what is happening now and continue, the wars continue and the militarization of the Russia in new way started yesterday. I think, and yes, and all Ukrainian officials move this forward, this topic that we need to review our UN legislation and the prospect how we could behave with terrorist state. And that is very important, how we could collaborate in whole world to protect the national interests of each of the nation and to create the joint army anti-forces, because we have anti-army and we have the army of drones. That is also very important and interesting topic. And it's not so hard to bring the hard weapons. Drones is smaller, and it is also very important to bring it and to protect, and how we could collaborate together to join all these resources. So yes, that's why. First thing, we need to put cybersecurity on the first place. We need to put the international democracy collaboration, and of course we need to create new legislation. How to protect us from terrorist state, because Russia Federation indeed is terrorist state. So that's why support us. Let's work together on this, and I'm very much appreciate that you are sharing our experience with you and you are fully with us. Thank you.
Absolutely, that deserves an applause. And talking about an applause, will you put your hands together in a minute, but let's do it this way. Dušan, your golden minute or 30 seconds or 1 minute, but very short thought that you want to leave your audience with. Then we'll go with you, Ludmyla, and you as a hosting country. I think that you will go Lulezon as the last one. So what are your closing thought? You want to leave them with? Yeah.
I think that we need to improve the cyber security level in all of our country, because we are not so rich countries, and we would like to have more investors in our country. And as you know, there is no any decent investors in the country which are not secure. So this is the main reason. Also, we must think about few main things from my point of view, and that is regional cooperation, that is resources, own resources, experts, and that is main two things. Also, we need to invest more in cybersecurity to enhance our cyber ecosystem, but there is two main things for me.
Investment and resources. Ludmyla, your closing thoughts, please. Thank you.
And first of all, I want to say thank you, organizers, for this super cool conference. And what is really exciting for me is that here in Western Balkan region, you are really working together. This joint conference, it is impressive, because we do not have such in our Eastern Partnership region. But for me, your experience, it is super cool. And I believe that you need to keep it and continue to develop, to work together, because the future is for the joint cooperation, and let's to withdraw it. Let's to keep it bigger. Let's to include another state on this, because our values that we here bring it to the society, it promote our values to the future. Let's do it. Let's work together. Let's collaborate, and let's create new disruptive innovation thing that protects our people, our society, our democracy. Thank you.
That's great. Very good thought. Lulezon, as a hosting country, your closing thoughts. Thank you very much.
Okay, at the end, once again, to reiterate, there is this graph which shows what is the attacker's efficiency and what is the defender's efficiency. And there is a huge gap, which is called the innovation gap. And now, coming from the government, and I've been in the private sector before, I know that the public sector, the governments, are not the natural habitat for innovation. But it's very, very important that we build these partnerships inside the country, but also internationally, to work together on closing this gap. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, exactly. I was going to request that. We are short in time. Put your hands together. Thank you very much, Ludmyla. Thank you, Lulezon. Thank you, Dušan. It has been a great panel. Unfortunately, we started late, but I tried my best on capturing the thoughts, and that regional perspective. I think that the things that were said here, and again, my notes, investment, holisticness, sharing, resources, brotherhood. You were talking about society and people's lives. So again, if you can put your hands again together again, because that deserves another applause. Thank you very much. It was great. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.